Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 2nd of July. Today we have a lot of very interesting news. Today is the beginning of July, and we understand that the further battles, the further clashes are moved from Lysychansk agglomeration towards Siversk, Bakhmut area, and this month, the July month, I think that this month is going to be the month about the battles in Slaviansk, Kramatorsk, Duzhnevka, Toretsk, Bakhmut, Solidar, Siversk. I think that the Russians will try to establish control all over this area. If we take a look at the West sources map, we see that this territory, Lysychansk agglomeration, is still under the Ukrainians. There are very heavy shelling in this area. The Ukrainian military reports says that they managed to stop the Russians' offensive operation. They are saying that maybe the Russians developed their position a little bit or something like this. But if we take a look at the Russian sources map, to be more precise, if we take a look at Lysychansk agglomeration, we see that Lysychansk has fallen. As you can see, the Russian sources map has been updated and they added new color. This yellow color, I asked myself what does it mean. I tried to find some legend and I didn't find anything that can explain me this yellow color, but I think that this yellow color shows us the gray zone. It's the yellow zone, not the gray zone. You see that if you take a look at this map, you see that gray dots like showing us the current front line and the area. We used to say that the territory between gray line and green line is the gray zone, but the Russians colored this area in yellow, maybe just for better picture, for better understanding. But I think that tomorrow morning we're gonna see that all this entire area will be colored in red. Lysychansk has fallen, and that was very fast. To tell the truth, I didn't expect that this operation would be so fast. And I read a lot of materials, a lot of topics about the Russian army. They totally changed their tactic, and more sources are saying that the Russians changed their tactic, and that we can say that the Russians achieved so huge success on the front lines, not just in Lysychansk agglomeration, but in any other place, using the flamethrower systems, TOS-1. This is very powerful systems, and with help of them, the Russians managed to clear power plants, Zolotarivka, any town, because as soon as Ukrainians understand that the brave groups are coming and Chechen's special forces Akhmat are coming and they're bringing their flamethrower systems, the Ukrainians just leave their position and start running. These systems are very powerful, and maybe you saw a lot of video when there are Ukrainian soldiers, dead soldiers, and they're not wounded. You see that they're like black. It's like a coal on their face because of these TOS systems. The main idea of these TOS systems, when they destroy, when like fire appears, the temperature in this system, in these epicenters of those fire, some sources said, like my friends told me, that the temperature there is like the temperature somewhere like in our sun, like it's in the sky. It's very hot situation, very hot points, and not just the soldiers who is like in the epicenter of fire are killed by these flamethrower systems, but every single soldier that is around this city. So we see that Lysychansk has fallen. I'm sure that by the end of this week the Russians will clear this situation, because I'm sure that there are a lot of Ukrainian soldiers. There would be a lot of prisoners of war. They try to hide, try to evacuate, try to break through, try to run from this area. And the Russians blocked every single road. Yesterday in the evening there was a report that there are still around 2,000 soldiers in Lysychansk. What is their destiny? I don't know. I'm sure that by tomorrow morning we're gonna understand and we're gonna see everything and we understand everything. And by the end of this weekend the Russians will try to clear this territory, try to regroup. do I believe that the Russians will immediately start the offensive operation towards Seversk? I'm not sure, because even no matter that the Russians took this town very fast, took this agglomeration so fast, it doesn't mean that they didn't have losses. Of course, they had losses, they have losses, and they will have losses because there are a lot of traps. A lot of Ukrainians are trapped there, and they will give a battle if they understand that there is no other way and they need to fight with the Russians. So this is the situation. So Lysychansk has fallen. Furthermore, the Russians reported and announced like third time in a row that Klinovo also is under the Russian control. So we see that the Russians are moving towards Bakhmut as well. The main goal, of course, the Russians' main goal in this area, not to attack Bakhmut, because I don't think that they're planning to attack Seversk and Bakhmut at the same time. As I told you in comments, one town will be encircled, another town will be attacked. I think that the Russians will try to attack Seversk because it's much easier to establish control over this small town. This is their goal for the next sprint, for the next session, for the next phase of this war, of this conflict. The Bakhmut will be encircled, and as you can see, the Russians not just shell Bakhmut, also shell Chasov Yar. Was like ammunition warehouse in this area. Also, they shell Konstantinovka, the same ammunition area. So, and they shell Ugledar power plant area. So, by the end of this week, maybe the Russians will try to establish control over Pokrovsk, because there are very heavy clashes there as well. Furthermore, as soon as the Russians establish control over Klinovo, this one is, now they have access, visual access to the roads that connects Pokrovsk with Bakhmut, and now the Russians, by the way, if you take a look at the West Sources map, this map is not updated, you see. But if the Russians are able to take control over Klinovo, now they have fire control over this road that supports Pokrovsk. That means that the Russians are able to take this part, at least this part, and from this part, very easy, they will be able to establish control over another road, and then to establish entire control over Pokrovsk. So the Russians are trying to fix forces in Bakhmut, and by taking Pokrovsk and Klinovo, they are able to fix the Ukrainians in Solidar. At least from Pokrovsk, they will be able to cut this road physically. So maybe by the end of this week, the Russians will try to establish control over Pokrovsk, just with one purpose, to cut the road, and with the purpose of cooking Ukrainian forces in Solidar, with their flamethrower systems, with their artillery, shelling, and so on. By taking Klinovo, the main idea, of course, to establish fire control and visual control over Zaitsevo and the road that connects Zaitsevo with Bakhmut through Vesela Dolina. The Russians need to encircle this area with town Kadima, Semigorye, Ugdarskaya power plant, and as we discussed in the video where I tried to describe you the global scope of the next phase of this operation, of course the Russians need to get somehow towards Toretsk from both sides, from Verkhnyi Toretsk towards New York. It's like New York agglomeration, like New York, New Jersey, so on. Sorry, I'm joking. So they will try to establish control over New York from the south, and of course from this area as well. As soon as New York agglomeration falls, we can say that it will open the Russians the way towards the Kramatorsk from the south. So the situation is very critical, and I see that the Ukrainians has a lot of problems with their soldiers, because I see that they can't stop them. They can't force them to stop, because the Ukrainians are running and running and running. And it might be that as soon as Russians reach Kramatorsk, Slaviansk, the Ukrainians are not even planning to defend this area, because they will be so shocked, there will be so much losses that they will decide to leave this area as well. And to tell the truth, according to the US intelligence and British intelligence as well, the next defend line, Ukrainian defend line, where the Ukrainians can establish real fortified position, and the next place where the Ukrainians are able to stop the Russians, according to the US intelligence, is here, on the line between Dnipro, Zaporozhye. So we can say that Kremenchuk, Dnipro, and Zaporozhye is the next defense line after Kramatorsk, Slaviansk. There is no way to fix and to establish any fortified positions in this area, because this area is not prepared at all, and there are no big towns. There is a town Pavlograd. I'm sure that Ukrainians already have prepared some defense line here, and I'm sure that the Russians will be forced to stop here and to waste some months maybe to take Pavlograd, but it will be just the Ukrainian operation to win some more time to fortify Dnipro, Zaporozhye, and Kremenchuk. And today we discussed with my patrons the situation: if the Russians are going to go further after they reach the border of Donetsk People Republic. We discussed the situation. Maybe they won't do this, maybe they are going to do this, but something tells me that the Russians are planning to do something, and then after they reach the border, this border of Donetsk People Republic district, they will go to Kharkiv area. And if we're talking about the Kharkiv, we see that the Russians are pushing slowly, very slowly. This entire area is in very heavy clashes. This is a triangle between Ternovo, Rubizhne, and Stary Saltov. Rubizhne, a lot of Russian sources are saying that this town is already under the Russian control, but this map is not updated. I see that neither Russian sources map or the West sources map like to update here's Kharkiv area, maybe because there's not much information from this area, maybe because it's like a lot of gray zone, a lot of commandos work and so on. But if you take a look at this map, we see that even the Russians are saying that Rubizhne is in the gray zone. I think that this town is already reduced to ruins for a very long time. So that's why maybe there is even no place to take control over, or where anybody can establish some defense positions. If we are talking about Izum bridgehead, there is no movements either. So the Russians are not moving. They're preparing. The Ukrainians are saying that there are a lot of movements from the Russians, but the Russians still fighting in Krasnopolye, and the Russians are still fighting on the north of Mayaki. There is no real offensive operations towards Mayaki. There are still commandos, and I understand that everybody prepares themselves for the battle in this Sherwood Forest, in this part of the Sherwood Forest, because anyway, the Russians will stop here for a while, for a week, for 2 weeks, maybe for 3 weeks, because they need to not just regroup their forces, clear this area, demine this area. Of course, they need to establish and reload the civilians' life in this area. They need to put their governor, they need to send the Russians, need some repair groups to this oil refinery. Maybe they can repair this oil refinery, or to prepare something, and as soon as the Russians are able to push Ukrainians from Siversk, Bakhmut, they need to restart this oil refinery, because it's a very big plant, and in the past this plant belonged to the Russian companies, and after 2014 this plant was taken by the Ukrainians with force and so on. Furthermore, if we take a look at the West sources map, the biggest value of Lysychansk agglomeration is the railroad. You see that this railroad, this black line, moves from Russia towards Kupiansk, then towards Svatovo, towards Krasnorechsk, and then towards Rubizhne, Severodonetsk, and Lysychansk. And from Lysychansk, this railroad leads towards DPR and towards the north towards the Bakhmut area. So as I understand, the Russians, by taking Lysychansk, and it needs some time because all bridges there are destroyed. The Russians don't need much time to repair bridges. If you remember, 2 months ago, the Ukrainians destroyed the bridges near this area, and it took 2 weeks for the Russians to totally repair the bridge in this area. So I think that total restore of this area will take few weeks for the Russians, and then they will be able to push tanks, artillery, fire throw systems, and many other heavy equipment in this area, and after that they will be able to start their offensive operation towards Kramatorsk, Slaviansk from the east. And of course now the Russians have one idea, one plan in this area. I think they need to pay attention to civilians. There are a lot of civilians in Lysychansk who hides in buildings and so on. They need to demine. They need to now understand how they can restore the real life in this area. And after that, they can move on. Of course, there are going to be heavy clashes in Verkhnya Kamensk between Seversk and the territory that is now under the Russians' control. So we'll see and we'll follow this situation. If we are talking about any other areas, there is no updates. The same situation in Gorlovka. So we discussed that there should be New York operation in the very near future. Maybe in July we're gonna see the battle for Toretsk and so on. The battle for Siversk, 100% we're gonna see the battle for Siversk in July, and the battle for New York, and we will see. There is shelling all along the front line in Donetsk. As you can see, the icons is like on the edge of the city. That means that the Ukrainians, they change their targets and they're trying to shell just the military objects in this area. If we're talking about Ugledar area, if you remember, like this week also was the week under the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation in this area, but the Ukrainians stopped. They stopped because of heavy shelling from the Russians, and they're not moving anymore. Maybe it was like some kind of plan B, in case if the Russians, they suppose that in case that the Russians would win in this area, we Ukrainians would show some victories, some achievements near Pavlovka, Shevchenka, Yegorovka, but later the Ukrainians got big success near Snake Island, and I think that's why they stopped any offensive operation in Ugledar, because it was too expensive in the from perspective of manpower. And if we're talking about Snake Island, the Ukrainians didn't do any attempts to establish any control of this island, because the Russians also have some artillery control over this island, and if any Ukrainian are going to land there, they will be immediately destroyed by the Russians. So this town is in the gray zone, and I think that this town will remain in the gray zone. But from the other side, the Ukrainians have possibility to trade, to move their wealth, to receive anything using the Odessa and their ports. But with one problem, of course, this area is mined, the coast is mined, so that's why before the Ukrainians are able to do this, they need also to demine this area. But the thing is that demining, from one hand, it's very good for trade, for movement, for sea, for ships and so on, but from the other hand, if the Ukrainians are going to demine this area, that means that the Russians from that moment will be able to start any offensive operation towards Odessa, to ship to land their paratrooper, their marines on the coast, and so it's dangerous from both sides. It's dangerous. From the Ukrainians, they have a pass, but this area is mined and they need to demine, but demining can give the Russians opportunity to start offensive operation towards Odessa. And there is no more updates about the current situation in Ukraine, so I think that the fall of Lysychansk is the big victory for the Russians, not just because of the fact that they took this agglomeration, but because of the fact that they did this very fast. Even I couldn't even imagine that as soon as our favorite Toshkovka falls, it took just less than a week when the entire Lysychansk agglomeration falls. You know that maybe some days, and maybe in 50 years, or maybe in 100 years, when our grandsons will discover the situation in Ukraine, I'm sure that there would be like a topic like Lysychansk battle, and I'm sure that people will discuss, the students will tell that Lysychansk battle was about taking Lysychansk, the Russians crossed the river and so on. But believe me, the Lysychansk battle solved in our Toshkovka, because if you remember, as soon as Toshkovka fell, this entire area collapsed. So And this is about small towns and about the real truth and about the real value of small towns in this big conflict. I think that maybe in the near future Toshkovka will get like the hero star, like city, hero city, something like this, because this is one of the most important town in this battle, the K town in this battle. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Join my Patreon. Today we discussed a lot of things. We discussed about the Kharkiv operation, my projection about the situation in Ukraine until the end of this year. This video is very interesting. I invite you to watch this video. Thank you for watching. I'll remind you that Military Summer channel condemns any violence in Ukraine. And that's it. Thank you. Bye bye.